Okay, well, welcome to this webinar on preparing your best EIS application, applying to become a CDC disease detective in the Epidemic Intelligence Service. To start off with, we will be recording today's webinar and may post it to the web on our EIS page. So if you do not wish to be seen on screen, please turn off your camera or drop the meeting. Note this webinar is not for members of the media. Members of the media should drop the call now and contact us at eisapplication@cdc.gov. Next slide, please. So just to let you know, our presenters today will be me, Byron Robinson, and I am a team lead with the Epidemiology and Laboratory Workforce Branch here at the CDC, which houses the EIS program. And I have black hair and I'm wearing a gray polo shirt. I'll also let my co-presenter introduce herself at this point.
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Rocky Rodriguez. I work in the EIS program with Byron. I'm the selection unit lead. I have dark brown hair. I'm wearing a headset and a pink and white sweater.
All right, then let's get started with the next slide. So who are EIS officers? Well, EIS officers serve on the front lines of public health, protecting Americans and the global community while training under the guidance of seasoned mentors. When disease outbreaks or other public health threats emerge, EIS officers investigate, identify the cause, and rapidly implement control measures and collect evidence to recommend preventative actions. So EIS officers are frequently passionate, committed, come in with a lot of skills, but then learn a lot more skills, a little with somewhat in didactic trainings that we hold, but also but mostly on the job, serving on the front lines of public health. EIS officers come from a variety of different disciplines. So we have physicians, doctoral level scientists, and we've had a lot of epidemiologists and microbiologists, but also psychologists and geographers and demographers. We've had veterinarians, nurses, and other allied healthcare professionals. So EIS officers come from a lot of different backgrounds who all sort of share a passion for wanting to learn about applied epidemiology while on the job and serving American communities. Next slide, please. But this webinar is really not so much about what EIS is and who EIS officers are. It's more for those of you who already know about EIS and you're thinking about applying to EIS. And during this webinar, we'll give you some tips to prepare an application. We'll go over the application steps and the timeline, and then how to sort of like physically submit your application in what we call the EFMS system, or our online application portal. And then we'll also leave some time at the very end for you to ask questions of us. Next slide, please. Before we get started about putting in a good application, please do take a minute to think about whether you're eligible or not. So EIS has specific degree, licensing, and experience requirements for clinicians and doctoral level scientists. So please make sure you go to the website, check the eligibility requirements carefully before you apply, because the application is fairly extensive and it takes a fair amount of time for us to review those applications. So we just hate the fact that we start reviewing an application and find someone who put all this time into putting in the application and realize they aren't eligible because they don't have the right doctoral level degree or whatever it is. So go to the website, check it out. If you have any questions, email us at eisapplication@cdc.gov. Next slide, please. All right, so the best applications come from those who take the time to learn about the program, who understand the kind of training they will receive, and who understand how EIS fits with their career plans. Sort of this, coming from this angle, knowing this knowledge, it sort of infuses the whole application, and you can sort of just tell, I review a lot of applications, you can sort of just tell who has kind of learned a lot about EIS, and that they sort of understand that you understand what EIS is about and really why you want to do it. And of course, this is great for you too. 2-year EIS is a tough program. It's a lot of hard work and it's competitive to get in. And so if you're putting all this effort into it, you want to know that this is what you want for the next 2 years of your life and that it's really going to help you over your career path. So the website is a great place to start. There you'll find recruitment videos, news articles, and other informational materials that will give you an idea of the breadth of topics EIS officers work on, the skills you'll build as an EIS officer, and what EIS officers do on a day-to-day basis. Next slide, please. But I would say, like, even better than that, just upcoming, you have the possibility of attending the EIS conference, which is April 23rd through the 26th. So I really encourage you, if you're in Atlanta, sign up, register, come down to the Marriott Marquis in downtown Atlanta and join us there. You'll be, it's a great place to learn about the kind of work EIS officers do, talk to some current EIS officers, talk to current supervisors, and just get a real feel for what the program is all about, and especially what kind of work the officers do. The good thing about it is if you're not in Atlanta, then it will be a hybrid conference. So a lot of the things happening at the conference will also be presented virtually online. So go and you can register. It's free to register and free to attend either virtually or in person and learn more about the EIS program. You can visit the EIS conference page on our website, or you can, which is at cdceisconference.org as listed there on the slide. Great. All right, next slide, please. So now that you kind of understand why you want to be in EIS, the application is really about who you are, of course. Right? We think it is important that you know who we are, but you should also make clear we know who you are. Tell us your story. What experiences have shaped your professional life, and what are the circumstances that formed, your own personal narrative? So, of course, your academic training, work experience, and volunteer activities all kind of speak to these points, but aware that these are sort of like individual data points on their own. What we really want to know is sort of like how that all kind of fits together. So you should be, when you're adding stuff, like we get a lot of questions about, what job experience should I put down? Should I put down the fact that I was a manager in a deli or not? Well, that may or may not be. And our response is frequently like, if you think it's relevant to your application and your narrative, then you should put it, right? Which is an intentionally vague answer, right? But the point is being a manager at that deli might have given you certain experiences. It might have been the first time you sort of learned about, public health in the community, or it might have given you very specific skills about interacting with others and being on a team and, and that kind of thing. And so if it's important to your narrative, to how you got to where you are today and where you want to go, then you should include it in your application. Next slide, please. So indeed, knowing who you are and where you've come from is important, but we also want you to make clear in your application how where you're going, right? And especially how EIS training fits with where you've been and where you want to go. So let us know why you're interested in a public health career. What have you done so far to prepare, and where do you want to go from here? Is it academia? Do you want to work in a state or local health department? Do you want to work on policy in Washington? That sort of thing. So, you should be able to articulate about how EIS training will help you do this, right? And you see how knowing what EIS is all about is going to become very important here, because then you can say specific things about, like, I understand this is the kind of training that EIS provides, and it's going to fill a gap in my knowledge or skills currently. And once I fill that gap, then I'll be able to go to the next level. That's the perfect kind of story that we want to hear in an application. So again, I talked about how a lot of this is kind of implicit in the volunteer activities you've had, the education you've had, and the work experience that you've had. But really the personal statement is where you can tie it all together, right? That's the part where, that's the section where, if you put in your work experience that you were a manager at a delicatessen, then you fit that into how that shaped your career path and why EIS will be a good next step for you. You fit all that together in the personal statement. That's where you weave your cohesive narrative about who you are. Okay, next slide, please. So some of you, after the application review, some of you will be invited to interviews, and interviews will be conducted virtually. We've been doing them for a few years now, and that works, really well. We're happy about that, because in the old days, people had to fly in to to Atlanta on their own dime and book a hotel and stay out. And it was a big deal. And we feel that doing the applications virtually has allowed us to still gain the information we need about you and for you to ask questions of us, but is obviously much less of a burden on you, especially much less of a financial burden. So the interview day will consist of an interview with a series of structured questions, followed by an optional Q&A with program leadership, during which you can ask questions. There will also be a simple writing task. Note that neither the interview or the writing task question will require specific knowledge of epidemiology or biostats or anything like that. So there's no need to brush up on old textbooks. We really just want to kind of know who you are at that point. A lot of your academic credentials and stuff like that you put on the application. We've got that information, and the interview is where we want to get to know you more about what your personality style, what your work personality style is, what your teamwork style is, that sort of thing. And other than that, there's really not much to prepare for interviews. You can just make sure you have a reliable internet connection and a quiet place to conduct the interviews. You should, of course, dress professionally and make sure your webcam works and that the lighting is appropriate, and just kind of be yourself. And the only thing you might want to think about is there any information about EIS that you couldn't learn from the website or attending conference, that kind of thing. And you might want to prepare a couple of genuine questions for your interviewers. All right, next slide, please. All right, so this is a map of where EIS officers work and the classes of 2022 and 2023. So you'll notice a big gold star right there, kind of in the upper left corner of Georgia. And so that's Atlanta, where many of our officers work at the CDC headquarters. But you'll also notice some other gold stars spread around in Colorado and Virginia, West Virginia, in Ohio, where we have some satellite CDC positions that are available. And then the blue dots represent states where we have EIS officers at the state health department, and the green dots represent where we have officers at local health departments. And then there's also of local and federal position in California. So the point of this is that officers work all over the country, and we won't talk too much about it, but there's a match process where you're accepted to EIS, and then you interview with a number of different places, which could be anywhere in the country, and you match that position. Then you must go to that position wherever it is. So and you must be, there is no remote work. You must go to the position where you match. And so, if you're not willing to relocate, then EIS might not be the program for you. If you can relocate to Atlanta, that's fine. There are always a lot of positions in Atlanta, but if I can only stay in Washington, or I can only stay in California, that's probably not going to work with the EIS program. So you need to think about what works best for you, your family, and your ability to geographically relocate. All right, next slide. Okay, so I'll now turn it over to Rocky, and she'll tell you more about the specifics of the application process itself.
Thanks, Byron. I will provide some more information on the application process. Information about the program and application, including the timeline, is available on the website you see here on the screen. If you are a reapplicant, you will notice that we have updated our application portal. Please be patient as we roll out the new platform, the new version, and also allow yourself some time to familiarize yourself with the new platform. Applications open March 1st and they close on June 5th. So I'll first start off by providing an overview of the EIS selection and match process. We select incoming officers first and then match them to positions. Your journey will start at submitting the application. Later in this presentation, we'll cover some tips to help you prepare the application. After that, your application is reviewed for eligibility, then suitability. Invites are then sent out for selection interviews based on the application review process. Your overall application and interview scores are considered to determine whether you are accepted into the class or not. You are selected into the class, placed on a wait list, or rejected. Once we have an accepted class, you will come to conference and participate in the match process, where you will be matched to a position for your fellowship. There is also a pre-match process that occurs prior to conference where accepted and waitlisted individuals could potentially match to a high-need site. Following the conference, the scoring and match process occurs, and this process finalizes where the accepted class will be placed. I'll now review some important dates for the application and selection process for the EIS class of 2025. As you're likely aware, applications will opened on March 1st, and they will close on June 5th. In June, we will send out eligibility notifications. The program will then send out selection interview notifications in mid-August. The virtual interview process will occur in September, and by early October, acceptance notifications will be released. The EIS conference and match dates are tentatively scheduled for April 2025. Following that, the EIS class of 2025 will begin their 2-year fellowship in early July 2025. Now that we've gone over the selection and match timeline, I'll describe the EIS match process a bit more. Most of you will participate in regular match, which occurs at the time of the EIS conference. During conference, you will meet with supervisors, current officers, and other staff to learn more about available positions. You will then interview with those positions and rank them, and they will rate you, after which an algorithm will match you to a position. This is similar to the residency match for those of you who are familiar with that process. Some may also choose to pre-match. Pre-match occurs earlier, typically in October and November. During this time, a select few will match to strong positions that are in an area of high agency need or are historically difficult to fill. If you match to a position earlier during the pre-match, this will give you the advantage of knowing where you will be living and what you will be doing much earlier than waiting for regular match to occur the next year. It is important to note that non-US citizens, that is, those on international visas or those with US permanent resident status, cannot travel outside the contiguous United States for EIS. Therefore, non-US citizens cannot match to a position outside of the contiguous United States. For example, Alaska, Puerto Rico, US Virgin Islands, Hawaii, nor can non-US citizens match to a position that will require international travel. In this section, we will cover some tips for preparing your application. The tips on this slide are general, and most of these are intuitive, but they will be helpful to follow. You can email us if you have any specific questions or concerns, including eligibility questions. And as a reminder, to prepare your application, we recommend review the EIS website information prior to starting your application. The EIS website has a wealth of information, including previous EIS conference books, which would give you a great overview of the breadth of topics and activities EIS officers work on, as well as recruitment videos, news articles, FAQs, featured publications, and so on. Tip 2, include relevant training and skills that help you tell your story. Identify training and experience that would establish your case as EIS as a logical career path and next step for you. Tip 3, start early and avoid rushing through your application to prevent errors. Dedicate a good amount of time to complete your application. You can save and resume, and the earlier you start your application and familiarize yourself with the portal, the better it will be. Now we'll share some specific application portal tips. Our first application portal tip is do not create multiple profiles in the online application portal. In previous years, you may have visited our website and may have even applied to EIS. As mentioned earlier, we have recently updated our application platform. Our new platform is in its first year, so everyone will have only one profile. Do not create multiple profiles. For tip 2, save your responses in a Word document and then copy to the portal. Any system can have limitations. Therefore, we recommend typing all of your responses into a Word document. This is just to be on the safe side and will allow you to back up your responses for the application. Tip 3, enter education, work experience, and other training details in chronological order. As you are preparing your application, think about the sequence of your experiences. You'll want to enter this information in chronological order so that it is easier for application reviewers to review your experiences and training. Tip 4, when you are uploading your licenses and transcripts, confirm the documents are readable and not locked. If you cannot do this, please contact our program at eisapplication@cdc.gov. Tip 5, follow up with your recommenders to ensure they submit standardized letters of recommendation on time. These are not traditional narrative letters. Please be sure to use the standardized letters generated by our online application portal. Check back to see that your recommender submitted the standardized letter of recommendation by the June 5th deadline. And be sure to ask someone that will give you a good recommendation. Tip 6, if you are unable to provide a clinical license, please upload a letter of exemption that clearly states the reason. You may contact us before uploading to confirm approval. Our email is eisapplication@cdc.gov. To learn more about EIS and become a disease detective, check our website and you can email us at the email address provided. We would like to open it up now for questions.